Welcome to the Body, Mind, Spirit Show with me, your host, Coach Rita Hurry. Welcome to another episode of the Body, Mind, Spirit Show. Today, I'm so pleased because I have an amazing special guest who's going to talk to us all about health and Ayurveda. Varsha is a nutritionist, a yoga teacher, an Ayurveda practitioner, and an author. Varsha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rita. It's great to be here.
Thank you. So, how did you get started in holistic health, and where did the passion to serve in this field begin?
So, long story short, actually, my story begins with my mom. I saw her journey through how yoga helped her heal after a car accident. And the Western medical practice, the Western field, medicine just wasn't good enough. We were in a car accident. She suffered a severe nerve pinch in her neck.
Right.
And she was in so much pain for months. It took doctors months to diagnose. They gave her painkillers after painkillers, which of course had side effects. And then so she was on more medication. And I was just like, oh my God, my mom is just suffering so much. There's nothing we can do. And then they gave her surgery as an option, but the odds of paralysis from the surgery were higher than the surgery even working. So a friend recommended yoga, and she did 6 weeks of yoga and she was completely better. So that just opened up my entire perception, because originally I wanted to, go into medicine, be a doctor. And that was the route I was headed towards. And then I was like, wait a second, here's this whole other realm of healing that's possible. And so, so I guess you could say it was my mom. She was like my guiding angel to just, make sure I go in the right direction. And so, yeah.
Wow. Is she fully recovered now?
She is fully recovered. This is maybe about 15, no, maybe more than that, probably about 20 years ago now. But yeah, she's all better. She's, doing well. She continues with her yoga practice. And yeah, it's amazing to see that when you try something different, that how much better sometimes you could do.
Yeah. And I think it's all about trusting your instincts as well. I think we look outward for those guidance, and especially with medicine, it's like, okay, this is the only alternative. But once you open your heart and your mind to actually there are others, and you just have to dig that bit deeper, that you find there are remedies that take you on a different journey, which obviously is what's happened to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, healing's possible, I feel. I mean, you hear miracle stories all the time as well, but I feel like the healing is truly possible if you are willing to dig deep enough and sometimes try alternative approaches as well.
Yeah. So in terms of your journey, did it start off with yoga, or did you actually explore Ayurveda first? What came first for you?
So actually from there, you would think I went straight into yoga, but I actually ended up in studying Ayurveda first.
Right.
Yoga at the time, even though it was great for me to see that my mom healed from it, and it did open up, this entire new realm for me. It didn't seem enough for me at the time. And I tried yoga, but I was a teenager at the time, so didn't really capture my interest. But Ayurveda did. The whole possibility of using herbs and natural remedies and all of that, that's what got me more interested. And then I grew up with a lot of natural remedies coming from an Indian family. It was a lot of home Ayurvedic remedies. my parents use them with. So I'm like, oh, maybe there is some truth to all of this. It wasn't just something that, my parents always just like pushed down us.
Yeah.
There is more to it. So yeah, so I ended up going to this place called Maharishi International University in Iowa, the middle of nowhere, really, in American, right middle of America as well.
Oh,
And
wow.
I learned to meditate, and I learned all about Ayurveda, physiology and health education. And it was a whole new world that at the time was just quite new to the Western world as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was what people called a risky venture at the time, or risky studies, because there was no guaranteed work.
Yeah.
But it just felt right. So I went with it.
Yeah, and I guess because it was new at the time, that obviously making a career out of it is, I guess a lot of people were kind of, are you actually going to make a career out of it? Whereas now, I guess there's a little bit more knowledge out there, not as much as, say, I would like there to be, and maybe yourself, but I think there's a lot more scope for it in today's society. Do you think?
Absolutely. I think people are more willing to learn about Ayurveda now as well.
Yeah.
And people are more receptive that maybe, it's okay to go after complementary alternative approaches.
Yeah.
And also realizing that it doesn't have to be just one way or the other, that Ayurveda blends well with other practices, and it also blends well with even Western medicine.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach.
Yeah, definitely. So our listeners are probably wondering, okay, so what exactly are the principles of Ayurveda? What is Ayurveda? Would you explain that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word for medicine that originated in India. And in Sanskrit, Ayu means life, Veda means knowledge. So in some ways, you can consider it the total knowledge of life, or the science of life, the science of health. That is what it's really become,
Yeah.
is that medical approach of Ayurveda. But Ayurveda doesn't just teach herbal remedies or natural remedies. It's also a modality for prevention of disease, how to keep yourself healthy. It also has a whole branch of nutrition and what to eat. So there's lots of different approaches. Like there's even surgery within Ayurveda as well. So it's not, surgery isn't something that just came out of Western medicine, but it dates back to the time of Ayurveda. But the entire foundation of Ayurveda rests on the five elements of space or ether:
Yeah.
fire, water, earth, and air. And
Right.
then sorry?
Yes, sorry. So that's in relation to the doshas, right? Or am I completely wrong there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's the five elements that come together to make up the three doshas.
Okay.
So doshas are also different, you can call them different bodily humors or different energies, really. They're the three types of energies that govern the entire body, but also your environment as well. So if you look at it from the elements, space and air come together to make up the Vata dosha. Fire and water come together to make up the Pitta dosha. And water and earth come together to make up the Kapha dosha. So that means that, but the space and air quality of Vata, it's ever moving, ever changing. There's that lightness element with Vata.
Yeah.
Pitta being a fire and water, it's that heat, it's that intensity, it's that passion, it's your digestion. That's all Pitta. And then Kapha, water and earth put together, so that becomes very heavy, very sticky, very unctuous, but it's also that stable quality as well.
Right. Okay. And this has a relation to do with your, not just your physical health, but also your mindset as well, doesn't it? In terms of your personality, who you are, how you go about day-to-day living. and your habits. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if you take Vata, for example,
Yeah.
Vata people tend to be quite airy or in their heads. They tend to also maybe suffer more from anxiety. They get lots of thoughts in their minds as well. They're also the ones that take on a lot of tasks because they feel like they can do everything, but not necessarily finish everything either.
Yeah.
They're also the ones that are often running late because, again, they're trying to do too much. So they're your friends who are saying, I'll be right there. I'm just running 10 minutes late. And that tends to be Vata people. Whereas Pitta people are with that heated quality, they're very passionate, very fiery. They're the people that, you don't want to talk about politics with. They're the ones that, they're very opinionated. They also cannot go hungry. So I'm sure everyone knows someone who,
Yeah,
when they're hungry,
definitely.
they need to eat.
Yeah, or they get hangry.
Yes, very much so. And then Kapha people, because of that earth and water quality, they tend to be maybe on the heavier side, but they're also the sweetest people you'll ever meet. They're stable, they're dependable, they're slow starters, so they like to take things easy. They're less likely to overcommit or take too much on their plates. But again, they're your best friend. You can depend on them wholeheartedly, and they will be there for you.
Okay, because I know that obviously someone can be a mixture of either two or even all three, can't they?
Absolutely. So it's easy for me to say, oh yeah, it's Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, but you could be any of those combinations. So you could be Vata Kapha, you could be Pitta Kapha, you could be Vata Pitta Kapha. So in total, there's 7 main combinations with single or double dosha or tridoshic. And all of them are completely acceptable and all of them can be healthy in their own ways. So, like with being pitta, if you know that you have a very strong appetite and you can't go hungry, and if you go get hungry, you just get more angry with people, then it's just about being one step ahead and being prepared and maybe, having your lunch before you go into that lunch meeting to make sure that, your emotions are a bit more leveled.
Yeah.
But yeah, none of them are considered unhealthy. It's just knowing what your type is. How do you find balance within those doshas as well?
Yeah, because for myself, I know I'm more of a strong kapha, but at the same time, I recognize that there's vata around in certain areas of my life where I would be a bit more, not necessarily late for stuff, because I think that I'm very like, no, I can never be late. But in terms of going from one thing to the other, because I like the variety of life, I'm very creative, so I can recognize that. But how would you say if someone is recognizes that they're two doshas, they've got two different sides to them, or three doshas, tri dosha, how would they balance that in terms of, say, food? Like if if I'm the kapha and I had a family and I had all these different doshas, or even myself, if I was tri-dosha, how do you balance? Because I know there's something to do with the tastes of food and certain foods that each dosha can and can't have, isn't there?
Yeah. So I'll give you an example of how I do it with my family as well. So there's 6 tastes in Ayurveda: sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. Now, the different tastes balance different doshas. So, for example, the sweet, sour, salty tastes help balance Vata dosha. The sweet, bitter, and astringent taste helps to balance Pitta. And then pungent, bitter, sorry, did I just say, yeah, Pitta. So sorry, Vata. No, sorry, let me start again. So sweet, sweet, bitter, and astringent balance Pitta dosha,
Yeah.
and then pungent, bitter, and astringent balance Kapha dosha. So now a lot of the foods overlap with one another as well. So a lot of the spices are, say, pungent, bitter, and astringent. So if you look at turmeric, for example,
Yeah.
it's pungent, bitter, and astringent. It's not just one taste. Your grains as well. So, like rice is not just sweet taste, but it also falls into the bitters as well. It can classify under bitter and astringent as well. So, different foods overlap in different categories
Yeah.
as well. So, rather, what I like to say, if you're just getting started with Ayurveda, rather than focusing on balancing with the taste, I would balance more within the flavors or overall types of food you eat. So, Vata people, if you're trying to balance more Vata, which as we approach winter season, you want to focus more on balancing Vata, is having more warm and nourishing foods. So, your soups and stews are more ideal for you to favor and to have. They're
Yeah.
also lighter and easier to digest, which is great, especially if you're Vata and Kapha.
Right.
Because
Okay.
Kapha people tend to have a slower digestive system. And so they're the ones that you don't want to snack. You want to stick to your 3 meals a day and give yourself plenty of time to digest that food that you're eating.
Right.
Pitta people need to, most important thing is avoid that spicy taste, that strong, sharp flavors and taste. So even the sourness, you want to avoid the sour and spicy taste because it'll just set you more on fire otherwise, because it
Yeah.
just makes that fire burn even stronger. So they are better off, avoiding the spicy and sour foods. But again, warm and nourishing is good. They can have slightly cooler foods. And then for the kapha type, I would say have the lighter, easier to digest foods. They're better off with having more flavor in their diet as well. So really trying to incorporate more of the different flavors and spices, because
Yeah.
that helps with digestion as well. So I would, rather than focusing on which tastes is each food, I would say focus on the qualities. And if you're working with the whole family, so I am also kapha. My predominant dosha is kapha with a hint of vata. My kids are very much vata. And my husband is a combination of vata pitta.
Wow.
So since all of us have a bit of vata in us, I like to go after the warm, nourishing meals.
Yeah.
And so cooked foods, easy to digest. And then my husband, of course, he needs to snack throughout the day. My kids kids always snack anyway. So
Yeah.
my kids are always snacking. And I tend to stay away from snacking because I just know that just slows down my digestion more. So when you're balancing for the family, it's more the snack side you want to focus on, to who needs to snack, who doesn't need to snack. In terms of the actual qualities and types of food, I would just focus more on the warm, nourishing, lighter, easy to digest foods.
Yeah. And I think that what you've said there, it simplifies the whole thing, because it feels like there's more options for you in terms of what to eat than thinking, okay, because I remember I had this table and it had all the different foods with the 6 tastes, and what is this taste, what is that taste, what can I eat, what I can't eat. And I looked at it and I was like, I don't know what to cook. It was
Yeah.
just, and then I went out and got a recipe book based on Ayurveda, and it was a great book, but again, it was like I felt very like controlled and not having the freedom to explore it and to cater it for what I enjoy as well, but also being aware of, okay, like you said, being a kapha, try and stay away from snacks and certain things. And it just made it so like all consuming that it's like, okay, I need to take a break from this and just do what I can. So what you've said is actually very kind of simplifies it. Are there any other tips that you could share for someone who was thinking about taking the Ayurvedic journey, how they could begin?
Yeah, so I say begin with one step at a time, and maybe it's not even food related. You could start with routine. So Ayurveda is huge on self-care and making sure you take that time out to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And so meditation is a big one with Ayurveda. So if you learn to meditate, start incorporating that before you establish new principles. There's also an element of dinacharya, which is basically your ideal daily routine. And according to that, different times of the day highlight different doshas.
Yeah.
So the hours between 6 and 10 is Vata time of the day. 10 and 2 is Pitta time of the day. And then 2 to 6 is Kapha time of the day.
Right.
So, or sorry, Vata time of the day. Did I say that right? Sorry, I think I just got that mixed up in my head. So let me just restate that again. So 2 to 6, the hours is Vata time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
6 to 10 is Kapha time of the day. And then 10 to 2 is Pitta time of the day.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So if you follow that structure, what it means is that ideally, Ayurveda recommends that you wake up before 6 a.m. because then you carry that lightness, that movement, that energy with you throughout the day. Now, if you wake up between 6 and 10, and many of us have felt this where we wake up later in the day and we tend to feel quite lethargic because you bring that heavy quality with you, that heaviness energy with you throughout the day. So that's one place where you could start is trying to wake up earlier. Likewise, with bedtime, you want to go to bed before 10 p.m. because once you hit 10 p.m., you get that pitta energy, and that can give you that second wind. How often have we felt that where, you're getting really tired around 9:30.
Yeah.
And then you stay up late, and then all of a sudden you get that second wind, and you're like, oh, I could keep going for a couple more hours.
Yeah.
That's pitta rekindling the fire and saying, okay, if you're going to stay up, let's do this. And it just gives you more energy. So then it just ends up disturbing your sleep even more.
Wow.
So you can think about bedtime. You can even think about meal timings. So lunch ideally should be your largest meal of the day because that's when your digestion is strongest. So that's a big transition for many people because we are often thought in the Western world to have dinner be the heaviest meal.
Yeah.
But if you have dinner as your heaviest meal, that not only weighs you down, digestion is slightly weaker towards the end of the day, but it can also disturb your sleep quality as well. So yeah, so you can start with looking at your daily routine and where can you make changes if food side seems overwhelming.
Yeah, and I think that like you mentioned about routines and having them is so important because like you said, because obviously I teach and practice meditation, and if by getting up early, if if you're someone who, oh, I don't have time to meditate, or I don't have time to do yoga or anything like that, any of that self-care stuff, by actually getting up early, you're actually giving yourself extra time in the morning of that quiet space for you to be able to do these things as well.
Absolutely. And it's Vata balancing as well. So meditation is tridoshic. So that means you balance all three doshas. But just by waking up early and not having to rush around as well, that balances Vata. And when Vata is happy, all your other doshas are happier as well, because Vata is the king of the doshas.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So if when all else fails and you're not sure where to start by balancing Vata. That regularity, that structure. Vata loves structure. Vata loves routine.
Right. Okay. That's a good tip there. So, digestive health plays an important part of our mind, body, spirit connection. Can you explain a bit more of why digestive health is so important?
Absolutely. So, digestive health, Ayurveda says that imbalanced digestion is a root cause of all illness,
Mm-hmm.
of all disease, really. And the reason being is that we all have a digestive fire, or Agni, as it's referred to in Ayurveda.
Yeah.
And if you think about it in terms of even fire and cooking and things like that, it transforms your food, right? So if you put something raw on the stove or the hob, then that transforms the food to turn it from raw to cooked. Likewise, our bodies need to transform it from whatever we've eaten into the nutrients that we've consumed.
Mm-hmm.
And your health is only as good as your digestion can digest, metabolize, and assimilate the food that you've eaten. Because you can have the healthiest diet in the world, but if you can't absorb the nutrients, then that
Yeah.
does you absolutely no good. And that can lead to mental health problems. It can lead to emotional problems. It can lead to, physical problems, all sorts of problems, because then you just don't feel nourished.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
don't feel well then within yourself.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. Because you see a lot of it on TV in terms of commercials. Like they'll say, oh, take this tablet, or, drink, Gaviscon, or, just kind of just name a few. But it'll always like, have you got heartburn, or have you got indigestion? Take a couple of these every day and you'll be fine, and you can eat whatever you want. But that's not helping the digestive system, is it? It's like you're being dependent on something else, whereas you just change your
Exactly.
diet.
Exactly. I mean, the amount of clients I see they've tried Gaviscon or Omeprazole and all the
Mm.
medications for acid reflux and heartburn, and it's not any fun, and it takes away from the enjoyment of food as well. And to know that all those symptoms mean that you have something deeper that you need to address. Your digestion is not happy. And yes, you can take Gaviscon or whatever else, and it will temporarily give you relief, but it's not helping you absorb any of the nutrients that you're eating or consuming. And I mean, what's the point if you're not enjoying your food either, right?
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
say any digestive imbalances, any sort of indigestion, get it checked, get it looked at. The sooner the better, because once those symptoms start, that's the perfect time it helps with the healing because it's quicker to heal. But the longer it's been a problem, the longer the journey takes. So you have to be patient with yourself as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, digestive health is something that everyone should just pay more attention to, I feel.
Yeah, because obviously it's connected to your emotions as well. And it's just about the importance of self-care, isn't it? And just valuing who you are and not only yourself emotionally, but also physically and mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's all connected, very much so.
Yeah. So, how do you balance living the holistic, healthy lifestyle as a busy businesswoman, wife, and mother? I know you've shared some tips on how you run in terms of nutrition in your household, but how do you balance everything?
So to be honest, I pick and choose according to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I share quite openly about is that my kids are not healthy. Like they don't sleep through the night. So my daughter's 2, my son is 5, and my son sleeps through the night now, but my daughter, she does not. She still wakes up sometimes. She still needs something. She still needs comfort, cuddles, whatever it may be. So
Yeah.
that contributes to my own Vata imbalance. And so I drink, you can get Dosha balancing teas.
Okay.
So I drink a Vata balancing herbal tea. What I try and do for my own self care is that I try and take time out. So as much as I love to meditate and do yoga and go for walks, it's just not possible to do everything every day. So I
Yeah.
pick and choose
Mhm.
based upon what I need the most for that day. So I always take a few minutes, check in with myself, and I'm like, okay, you know what, today you know what, I'm not going to practice yoga. I just need to sit and meditate. So I
Yeah.
will sit and meditate. And if I can do everything, great, I will do everything. But I pick and choose and I prioritize based upon what I really need for the day.
Yeah. And I think the key point there that you've said is also not being hard on yourself if you can't do everything that you would love to do every day, because
Oh,
that again will affect you emotionally and also will have an effect on your digestive health. Am I right?
that is correct. I mean, I find it quite overwhelming trying to do everything every day.
Mm.
And yeah, before I had kids, it was definitely much more doable. But after since having kids, it's does add a whole nother level of challenge.
Yeah.
And even with healthy eating with my kids, it's like, well, sometimes, you know what, I will let them have sugar because it means that it's just easier for me. And it's sometimes you do take shortcuts, and that's okay. Sometimes I meditate right before bed,
Yeah.
or I will do my yoga stretches right before bed because that's the only time of the day that I have, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
know we're taught, oh, you're supposed to do yoga first thing in the morning, but there's no such thing as supposed to.
Mm. Yeah.
And even Ayurveda is adaptable in that way, where each person is different, each lifestyle is different. I mean, if someone who works the night shift, they're not going to wake up at 6 a.m., are they? They're already awake. They're going to go to bed during the day and they're going to sleep. So you have to adapt accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think it is, like you said, it's just being aware of your lifestyle and being aware of how you can adapt it, and being, I think really the message that's come across from our conversation is being open and being gentle and allowing yourself to connect to your body and know what you need personally.
Absolutely. That is spot on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've written a book, haven't you? Think Healthy, Choose Healthy, which is out now. Can you share with the listeners what this book is about and what they can expect when they buy it?
Yeah. So this book is based upon my experience with working with my clients. And what I've done is that this book will help you make healthier dietary and lifestyle choices through nutrition and Ayurveda. And it follows a line or the path that we've been speaking about, that it's not an all or nothing approach. I will teach you and guide you through the book on how to adapt healthier habits step by step. And it goes down to prioritizing what your needs are. It's about learning more about yourself and creating greater awareness, because what works for one may not work for another.
Yeah.
So you have to learn about yourself first in order to make changes. And that's what I take you through in that book, is getting to know yourself, learning where your priorities are. And by the end of the book, you get an opportunity to create your own ideal wellness plan.
Oh, wow. That sounds great. Yeah. And I think what I love about that is it sounds like it's a very empowering book, that it's not just do this, do that, this is the way that you can be healthy, but it's actually, as you said, you're creating a wellness plan for yourself based on the knowledge that you've gained from the book.
Exactly, exactly. It's not a one size fits all model. It's not, yeah, it's not stringent. Like you have to do this to, get to your ultimate goal. But it's about, this book will help you reach your goals that you have in terms of your health and well-being. But it's about allowing you to create your own journey with it and really embrace it. And I've never been if you have to do this to get to there type person. I feel like, how will I know what every single person needs? But I do have a framework that can help you get there. And that's exactly what I've done, is provided this framework in a simple manner So there's nothing complex about it. And that's the feedback I get from my readers, is that how I've been able to completely simplify the approach of both nutrition and Ayurveda so it's applicable to every single person.
That's great. And I think more and more people need to be aware of Ayurveda and exactly what it is. So if someone wants to find out what dosha they are, where would be the best place to go? I mean, do you do sessions based on helping people find out what their doshas are, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a thorough dosha assessment with each of my clients and with all my group coaching programs as well. So we all do dosha assessments, and the ones, if you work with me directly, I will give you a very comprehensive dosha assessment. Otherwise, I do have coming soon a dosha assessment that you will be able to take on my website. But for now, if you want to take one, you're welcome to reach out to me. You can find me on my website. So that's illuminatedhealth.com, or you can find me on Instagram, Facebook at Illuminated Health.
Brilliant. And have you got any last tips for our listeners if they've, just heard about Ayurveda and thinking about going on the journey, or just generally about being healthy and just changing their lifestyle for the better?
Yeah, so I love this quote that comes from one of the Ayurvedic texts, that overuse, underuse, and misuse of time, senses, and action is what leads to imbalance of the doshas. And so if you think about it, staying up late is a misuse of your time, your senses, your actions, when really you should be taking the time to rest, sleep, because that is when your body does its own healing work.
Yeah.
So just knowing how you spend your time, what you do with your time, what kind of actions are you taking, everything influences your health. So it's all about the choices you make. So make the choices that make you feel your best.
Love it. I think that's a perfect ending to a great interview. Varsha, you've shared so many great tips, and I know a little bit about Ayurveda, but you've kind of confirmed a lot of things about just being aware of yourself and being aware of what you need as an individual and just listening to your body. And it's been great. So thank you for being my special guest and for sharing all this great information.
Thank you very much, Rita. It was wonderful to be here. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you. So listeners, there's a lot of information there. So, look after yourself, be aware of what your body, mind, spirit needs. And all I can say is stay healthy, stay vibrant, and most of all, stay safe. Until next time, take care. Bye. I hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, motivation, and of course, inspiration coming up real soon. If you want to email me and send me messages of what you thought of the show or anything you'd love me to cover on the show, please email me at coachrita@swasthiyaliving.com. Swasthya Living is SwasthyaLiving.com. See you real soon. Bye.